Hey everyone, me Phone 11 along with Roy Cruz and Fan, and it's the second game of the Stanley Cup playoffs on EA Sports of Game 2. We're happy to have you back with us here, and for those of you who have missed first game, here's what they did. Buffalo Sabres have strikes it back in Game 2 and has tied the series with Tampa Bay Lightning 1-1 right in the range. So that means that it's a tie part of the game. And then for the next tomorrow night, they are off because the Oilers are facing against the Golden Knights for tomorrow. And as for the couple nights of the day, will be only one game as the Tampa Bay Lightning are at home. They're facing against the Buffalo Sabres at Benchmark International Arena for game number 3. This is where it happens to be always changing it up for one game at a time. And as for the others, it will be a big change of it to have it deferred on. So therefore, it's Minnesota and Colorado, and they're ready to take another puck draw. For the next starting goaltenders, Philip Gustafson is the starting goaltender for the Minnesota Wilds, and for the Avalanche, Mackenzie Blackwood. Avalanche and Wilds are ready to go, and my next broadcasting partner is Craig. He's also joining us here with the others, and therefore the other side of it only changes to be one, and it's Silver Spoon on the other hand. And the third part of the commentating of the crew give a sworn special guest that'll be joining us here for the game. And right along the other side of it will not be that, it will be, of course, Gelatin. And we'll see you folks later, fellas, for the intermission in the post-game show. And as for the center box, I give a warm welcome to Terry Crews that will be joining us here from the center box right between the glasses. Get ready! The rematch continues between the Avs and Wilds, and it's next on EA Sports. Enjoy the second game, everyone. Mile High continues here in Mile High, Denver, Colorado. Avalanche and Wilds are ready to take on with the rematch here. The Stanley Cup playoffs continues as we're ready for the puck drop, and we're about to be set. Hey folks, it's a long part of the game as we welcome you for our second night. Craig along with my broadcasting partners along with Silver Spoon and Gelatin. And in center box is Terry Crews will be joining us here for the Between the Glass, and we are underway in Mile High. Game 2 starts now as Mackenzie Blackwood is the starting goaltender for the Colorado Avalanche. On the other side of it for Minnesota Wilds, we have is Philip Gustafson for the other team. Let's start off for McKinnon. McKinnon will now swing it over to McCarr. He'll have it again to Toes. Toes sends out to McCarr. He now finds it over to McKinnon, and he gives that back over to McCarr. The changeover now finds it over to Toes. He gives to McKinnon, and over to Natchez in the backhander to save by Philip Gustafson. Here's Quinn Hughes. He'll send it over to Matt Zuccarello. First possession drives coming in for the Minnesota team. And as Evan Toes will have that one out, they'll have some skating regroups here for a Mile High team. Brock Faber will have another change off, and that one sends it off to Matt Zuccarello. The other way, Matt Zuccarello blocks it up at the shot by Devin Toes. Devin Toes now swings it over to McCarr. He now has it again to Chushkin. The other way. Pulls a stop afterward. Quinn Hughes will try to keep that one clearing it out here for Minnesota. And they got a pinch back pass here by Foligno to have that regrouped by Eriksson. Brett Burns now has that pass off to Nichushkin. Colorado on the attacking range. Nichushkin get that off to Burns. On the sent off to Manson. He now finds Nichushkin in a fire shot. Saved by Philip Gustafson. Here's Eriksson. Swing over to Hughes. And right toward away. And a save by Mackenzie Blackwood. 16:25 left remaining in the first period. They'll have enough plenty of room to have a stoppage and have another puck drop ready to go. As we noticed it before, Silver Spoon and Gelatin are also here at the game, and they're watching it to see what's their prediction for game number 2. They can definitely hang things on.
Well, I might say that only one thing happens at a time,
And we noticing that the Avalanche is really trying to get a lot of big commencement to feelings of it, and they really did so much harder than they were able to expect it for to play it that way. You know, Ross Colton and everyone else has been doing some long way communication. The better the speed of it and the agility is, well, they really had to do everything. That's because of how their regroupments, changes, and everything. Yeah, I definitely totally agree on that one here, Silver Spoon. You know, I really say that Colorado Avalanche has been one of the harder teams, and then trying to remember it from Minnesota Wilds. You know, this is everybody's favorite player. Everyone doesn't deserve it the best. And you know, it never brings out to anyone that I really have seen things between the Mile High team and, of course, from the Minnesota, from the Forest up the north. They really are doing it so much as they can. They just really have to believe it to see this. Because everyone's been watching on is for the Minnesota Wild. They wanted to tie that series up. And then you got no idea how that's going to change it off for Colorado. We've got to watch on that one here if there's any great connections to give the feed and go right back over it. The quick pick has turned it over as now it's Spurgeon has one. That gets knocked down right toward the board, and this one is now back to Logan O'Connor for the Colorado Avalanche. That one takes a swing. That hits him down, and it's rebounded by Spurgeon. That one flings it around the net and rebounded up by Manson. Manson off the wall. Give the rebound here by Jack Drury, and he has that over to Manson. Manson to pass over, now finding it over to Parker Kelly, and he give it again to O'Connor. O'Connor to pass, now finds it over to Drury. He'll have that stoppage. The fling over, now finding it to Logan O'Connor. And it gives right over back to Spurgeon. He now finds it over to Harbin. 12:15 remaining in the first period. We'll take out that one with the spin around, and that one is gloved up by Blackwood. 12:05 remaining in the first period. They'll have plenty of stoppage left right near in the middle of it before the midway mark of the period. Now the great change about this one is Brock Nelson, for the transfer from the New York Islanders. He's looking to have his first of his goal in the playoffs to play it correctly and have it all in change. I'm really sure that Brock Nelson has a great way to have that one starting up as his career to keep that puck drawing the face-off. How do you think about that? Well, I meant to say Brock Nelson. He really sits so well, and everybody that happened to be with after the Islanders, they really are starting to get a lot of big connections in. No better feet does stand still. You know, Brock Nelson is really giving everybody a hard time. No better offense between Nichushkin, McKinnon, Cale Makar, and probably, as you noticing that everybody's been watching things on, is Mackenzie Blackwood. That's really what they are all making connections in there. The big draw really need to turn their attention to. Landon Scott, a fire shot, saved by Philip Gustafson. So as you get him a car. Nichushkin with the shot of it, and another save by Philip Gustafson. Quinn Hughes now has it to roar off, and here's another one to Trennan. The call of Trennan will have that one change off. Tarasenko now finds off to Trennan. Trennan right toward the wing. He has that one fastened on the shot, and another save by the goaltender. Here's Trennan. Right outside of the zone. That one is blocked up and rebounded off by Cale Makar. This really is going to happen with that. There's a lot of big defenders on the attacker. The motion of it happened to be the Avalanche. They've got to try to fix it up. Matthew Baldy. The knockdown hit. In the center box, now back to Malinsky. Send a deep pass over to Martin H.S. Martin H.S. loses grip on the puck, speeding into battle. And Brock Faber will have it turned over the other way. Brett Kulak stops that one with the poke check. Matthew Baldy with the rebounding. With the shot and covered up by Mackenzie Blackwood. 8:41 to go in the first period. They'll have another puck draw ready in the Avalanche territory. All right, I will now send it over to Terry Crews. And therefore, this one is calling for Nazem Kadri. Thanks, guys. About Nazem Kadri, he's really giving plenty of energy to have that one full space in. The one thing we notice is Nazem Kadri, his better percentage and the better speed of it has really make a change from the quick draw release from the other side of it. Nazem Kadri is really playing it so much better of his ultimate years, but whenever it changes optimally, Nazem Kadri has a lot of big responses from David McKinnon and Jack Drury, along with Cale Makar. I'll be watching it here for Cale Makar. And as for Nazem Kadri, we'll have a better response here to have it send it or tape to tape, and a quick draw. Let's hope there's plenty of action to keep it in. Guys, big sub made here by Mackenzie Blackwood and a rebound by the Avalanche. This makes a great save of it. You know, everybody's been watching on Mackenzie Blackwood. That really has started up to be here. Ross Cohen slides that one back, now find the Burns. He now has it to Kadri. Kadri fires it, and a save by Gustafsson. 7:08 to go in the first period. They'll have another puck draw ready in the Minnesota territory. Let's go the other way for Minnesota, and therefore Quinn Hughes. Quinn Hughes has been one of the hardest strengthened guys of the competition. Quinn Hughes is really making a sended pass in easier ranges. It's just turning out to be making it quicker and a better pick to have that ultimate drive. There's no better contest to take that one out, but as you see about Quinn Hughes, his better responses happen to be with only just a quick drawing release and some sharp illy edges. This is the hard term that they really are starting to look for. When Quinn Hughes has the right responses, this is the better energy to give the crowd from here. I'm looking forward to this one for Quinn Hughes and what the sharp edge has done, and they only send a pass. We'll see how this one will change it in if there's answers to the third. Let's hope it is anything that plays better. Back to you. Here's Marcus Johansson. Harrison Ackman to fire. Saved by Mackenzie Blackwood. Harrison Ack pulls it back over to Brock Faber. Brock Faber to find again. The Quinn Hughes shoots in the block side up by Manson. Crouches down and rebounded up by Nichushkin. Here's Johansson. Backhander. Saved by Mackenzie Blackwood. Landeskog will have that one out. The clearing zone now finds it to Manson. Manson behind the cage. Faber. And here's Marcus Johansson. Given away by Manson. Has that back in HS. He has it over to McCarr, and it's back in HS. Here's McCarr. Liquidate. He shoots it, and a save out by Philip Gustafsson. Plus the Terrence Sanko the other way for Minnesota. That goes near the boards. HS kicks it out to Lekkerden. Arturi Lekkerden with the full pressure. Manson. Lekkerden shoots it. And blocked it up on the save play on again by the goaltender. Off to McKinnon. McKinnon daggers it on the shot club. Saved both the way again by Phil Gustafsson. He really had that one with a lot of huge responses. Nathan McKinnon was really willing to get that dagger and get the ankle breaking on the goaltender, but I bet this breakaway wasn't enough. Barnaches has that one slowing it down here for the Colorado Avalanche. He looks to McKinnon. That shot is blocked, and it will send up in the netting and out of play. Guess really what changed up to Philip Gustafsson. Only makes that save. The stop by Nathan McKinnon was greatly appreciated, and he really made a great further speed to have that changing it down. 43% of it was really clear. And Philip Gustafsson really just tried to do all the energy to give that better lack of the crowd and anything that you need to know about the goaltender. That's where Philip Gustafsson makes that save of it. And Wallstad was watching on that. The careful the timing, the more better the pick they really will have to do for if they have to change it off. After a save made by Mackenzie Blackwood, here's McKinnon. Under 3 minutes remaining in the first period. He'll have that one flinging it over, now firing to McCarr. McCarr knocked that one down. Rebound by Zuccarello. Here's Hartman. That one is knocking it over, and Ross Colton now finds it over to McCarr. McCarr entering the zone. That one is taken away by Jordis Brodin, and Zuccarello is on the rush. Gives to Hartman. Hartman rolling it in. That one is covered it out, and as Kulak will give it back to Roy. Here's Roy. Knocks in with a shot. Gloved it up by Gustafsson. Bad turnover for Minnesota. With the Kadri. He lined it up with Philip Gustafsson. Kulak now has it to Malinsky. Malinsky shoots a glove save by Gustafsson. Just under a final minute of the first period, as they're trying to look for the first score between Minnesota or the Colorado. Phil Gustafsson really had it all. This is the connection from Nazem Kadri, and he really took that one in there. Now this denying effort happened to be with only Gustafsson. He made that one with a great saves and periods. That one was no joke. That really would have to change it all. First intermission is underway as we are coming to you in just a few moments to get ready to start with the second period. And the first period stays with nothing but it'll be 1 goal each to have that next period. So that first intermission is coming up after this. And Sam Malinsky will have that one rebounded up. Michael McCarron now has it to Bogushon. Bogushon's shot is off the glass and rebounded up by Minnesota. He shoots that way. That one sticks it out on a sponge by Mackenzie Blackwell. He really had that saving it in there. I mean, there is no lack of energy that would change it out. That's a monstrous. Brock Nelson, saved by Gustafsson. And over now again to Kolak. Slow it down, left save by Gustafsson, and that ends the first period. No score between Minnesota or Colorado as they got both slams on the hit. Avalanche been the favorites, but Minnesota trying to have the first goals on when we come back for the second period. You're watching the Stanley Cup playoffs on EA Sports. We return to Mile High after the break. Hey everyone, welcome to the first intermission of the NHL on EA Sports. Roy Cruz along with me for 11 and Fan, as we got a great statistics stats for you. No score right between Minnesota or Colorado. But there is a great way to have some able to change things in. The further to go, the more the better. Now I will send it over to me for 11 about the first period statistics. What do you see about that? It's really kind of obviously seeing things from Minnesota or Colorado as they've really got a great passing effectiveness. They're really starting to get a lot of strong grip. 9 face-off wins over 1. That happened to be with Minnesota. They've really got that first one at a goal. I'm not even sure how this starts off, but the only way to find this out is that Minnesota is really keeping a lot of energy in and get it flowing, and this is why I really have to watch things on. The careful of it, the more biter, the better. It's really hard to keep that one in for good. The playing of this offense is really trying to make it harder and harder. I know there's no penalty kills in this moment between Minnesota or Colorado, but that one was a lot of big shots on the net, 14 over 12. Colorado's been trying to look for a next part of the goal to get a 2-0 over Minnesota in the series. 12 over 9 hits was pretty great. And effectively, 86.1 and 85.7 really do be a little slight adjustment to that. Let's see how they can answer it back for the start of a second period. Now let's have a look at the action trackers. The other side of it shows how it's done. A lot of shots of a net, but sadly no goals has started off between Minnesota or the Colorado Avalanche. They really are trying to get all of it. Plenty of room action. No feed up, doesn't happen to be anybody. But as you see, this is most importantly to have that great shots of a net and a lot of big chances in with some a little summary and the face-off wins. That's what we need to do for. All right, let's go over to Fan and see what the status happens with Minnesota as they took a hit from by Michael McCarron. Well, Michael McCarron really think it was not going to be a lot of hits, but I know this really is kind of like awe, shock, and awe moments here. That's everybody who was watching it off. The one thing I'm keeping an eye on is that they're looking for that first goal for Minnesota. They're really daggered in near the crescent, and that could be almost pretty badly. Nobody wants to see how they could definitely knock things out. So the plenty of energy needs to get a skill in. I think we need to see what Minnesota brings if they get the first goal in the game. All right, let's have it over to you, Me4 11, about the Colorado Avalanche. They're playing really well, but no goals yet. How do you see it afterwards? Avalanche really started out to get that lot strong opportunity. And just like Minnesota Wilds, they're really starting to look for their offensive strategy to screen, and they probably need to get that one moving. The fixing of it is greatly appreciated. Now, what's your scoring prediction for the second period after that? I think Minnesota is going to be already been top of the notch, 1-0 over Colorado, and I don't know if they will tie it up. I think they will tie it up. It's 1-1. I'm going to go with Colorado or Minnesota to get a tie in range even. Well, there you have it, folks. I guess the prediction is going to be all changing it up. Let's go back down to Mile High at Ball Arena as we get ready for the second period of round 2. See you folks later for the second intermission after this. For those of you just turning us in here for the first part of the period, we're ready to get started for the second period. in Mile High of Game 2. And as glad as you are joining us back here for Mile High, this is another big round of the playoffs in game number 2. Round 2 as the game continues here in between Avalanche Central. This matchup was not really easy enough as no scores had been taken. Let's have your thoughts on how the first period happened.
Well, this really made that hurt. The only way I mentioned it before, the Minnesota Wilds are really starting to get that lot of pulling and strength. And what we really need to know about it before, that Minnesota Wilds are really starting to get a lot of craziness and battle impacting that they're really doing for. I mean, everybody's been trying to watch things on. I mean, no competition is doing a lot better. I mean, I'm serious though. Whatever they need to do for, we've got to find answers out. There's no way to have that one changing it up if they really wanted to keep it playing and get right to the first goal as they can. That's the harder part to get through it.
Yeah, the same thing I noted before, that Gustafsson is really giving all the energy that I'm respecting. This really would have to be almost changing it to be impossible that everyone's been doing it for. I can't believe that Brock Nelson is really trying to do all of it, but anybody does have to make a better connection in there. I think this just needs to be a quick fixture to do this for things. And what we need to know about is for Colorado Avalanche, they really need to get started with a lot of big pieces of the game to get them a lot of quick reaction and powering play time. Really would almost have to be anybody. I think they need to start doing is get some real help. Their offenders now, he finds Max Zuccarello, he looks over the face-off shot, save on Mackenzie Blackwood, and now as Colorado gives it off to Burns. The Avalanche are back in offensive territory, and as Flavian fires up a Kaprizov, makes a save made by Mackenzie Blackwood, and he has it over to Nichushkin. Now offside for the Avalanche is now Nichushkin with the rebounding. Off to Brock Nelson. He looks to Manson, now has it to Burns. Burns to Nichushkin. Manson keeps that one going around to Landeskog. Landeskog. Range on, he scores! They start off strong, and it's good for Landeskog to quickly get his first goal in the game.
It's all for nothing. Gabriel Landeskog really did seemingly that he was going to get away with that. That shot at first goal really made that one at the start of it. Only one thing happens with Gabriel Landeskog. He makes that 4-leader and had that first goal to have that one shooting his strength and a lot of start-offs to make that quick pick skier. That's the first lead-off that they really did for. I think this leading was great to start off for the Colorado Avalanche. That's right into the net.
So the Avalanche is starting with the first goal in the game as Gabriel Landeskog, he earns another playoff goal in a game. The big night happened to be Landeskog. I know what they're really watching it on. Everyone has been trying to get the crowd in for rules. No one is going to get it all to a better choice. I mean, Gabriel Landeskog, he really took it all with that great muscle. Here's Hughes as Burns takes that off. Pass back over to get a Roy. Roy now firing over to Manson. Here's Manson, he pushes that one across and he'll send it around the net. And Ross Cole with the rebound, he'll have that one swinging to Rao. Rao to find Burns, he'll have it over again to Manson. Manson to Rao. Rao shot, pad save by Gustafsson. 15:26 remaining in the second period. Another puck draw ready to go. 12 over 10 hits here for Avalanche. That's Avalanche started up with a 1-0 lead over Minnesota. Avery McKenna was the draw on, and it's now Tozy. He'll give it over to McCarr. And finding Natchez. Natchez to Tozy. He has it again to Lekkonen. Lekkonen again to McKinnon. He'll have that one cleared out to McCarr. McCarr outside of it to Tozy. He'll have that one give it back again to McCarr. That one takes a hit right near the boards. Natchez. Off to McCarr. McCarr. McKinnon shoots. Glove save by Gustafsson. Lekkonen. Resets the group. McCarr. Natchez. He shoots one and a save by Gustafsson. Full pressure breaks that one with a great shot opportunity for Avalanche, but they're starting to get away with this without Minnesota trying to score. They're attacking. Colorado starting to get a little comfortable lead off, a 2-0 lead over Minnesota. McKenna wins the draw. Here's McCarr. A send to Toews. Toews shoots. Save by Gustafsson. And that one backfires it, and it goes rebounded up by the Avalanche. Toes will get a new line crew change in. That's out of sight, out past to McCarr. McCarr looks to McKinnon. And it fires and scores! Nathan McKinnon! He really races it forward and he makes that deep shot in. You would not believe so. Nathan McKinnon was able to get it through. Wow! You know, that deep pass really made that one cleanly. And now, Cale McCarr was getting off to Nathan McKinnon. He did that firing canyon with the shot, and he really got that quick picking. This is the shot speed of it, and he goes 103. That one really beats it off, and you would not believe so how Nathan McKinnon was able to have that passing it up to get that slap shot in after McCarr. Yeah, he's really doing it what he can definitely do. Nathan McKinnon, he's really had another goal in the playoffs. And it's the Avalanche, 2-0 to score. McKinnon wins the draw, and he now has it over to Toes. 13:30 remaining in the second period. He'll have that one flinging it over around the other side of it, and it's now Nathan McKinnon will have it. And the pass to Natchez, he looks to McCarr. Back to Toes. Toes will send it off to McCarr, he now finds Natchez. Natchez to McKinnon. McKinnon again to McCarr. He has it again to Toes. Toes to McCarr, now find McKinnon. McCarr waits it around a little bit. Now finding it over to Toes. And Toes finds McKinnon. McKinnon fires a slap shot. Save made here by Bill Gustafson. Toes back to McCarr. McCarr lost that one. And here's Natchez. Natchez backhander. Save up by Bill Gustafson.
6:17 remaining in the second period.
Here's Kaprizov. Minnesota with another shot. Saved by Mackenzie Blackwood. Toes will start making a little dagger change. Hanifin, another save made by Mackenzie Blackwood. And as McCarr kicks that off, Toes will send it around in every way. And the Avs will have another new group of offense. Jushkin. Now outside of it is Burns. He'll give a reset to Manson. Here's the Jushkin. The shot's blocked. And it's over to Quinn Hughes. He'll now have it again Hartman. Hartman. Race across again to Kaprizov. And Brett Burns will have that one kicking it over. Rolling back the other way in the offensive zone is Brock Nelson. He'll have that one swinging to Landeskog. And now it's off of between the legs by Kirill Kaprizov. Ball into Kaprizov shot. Save made here. Rebound by Baldy. And he's covered up by Blackwood. 10:25 to go in the second period. They'll have another puck draw and ready in Colorado territory. We know how this one changes up, but I will send it over to Terry Crews as we near the midway mark. How do you see that afterwards with 1 goal and a snapper?
Well, I may have to say about this one here, Greg. You know, what I mentioned about the first part of the game, that really weighs it out pretty strongly. I mean, it's just really what they're starting to do for. And as Burrow and all the other guys are really starting to have that one paid off, I think there was no answer to this part of the game. They could really use a lot of help here for the Avalanche and for Minnesota. They really are trying to do all of it. No better energy has that lack of it. But as you've been playing it before, you really have to watch it and you have to try to be very, very extra careful. This caution is going to definitely change it off and turn it over the other way if you're going to try to seek to deal with. That's pretty because with Roy and Malinsky and what the battling you need to do for the head coach, that needs to have them help them explain a little bit to slow this down. This needs some hardening recruitments and just need to make sure if this is right on track. This target of it is not going to make that one easy enough if they're trying to look for some open spaces. This cap of the offense really makes sure that this happens to get one change up to plenty of each. As players really starting to dehydrate, they need to start regaining some energizer to keep that one in from playing back and rushing into offense, time on attack, if necessary, to play it for real. Let's see how they answer it off, because that second period was a great start off for Colorado. They got a 2-0 lead over Minnesota.
All right, thanks. Belegno shot, save up by Mackenzie Blackwood, and it's rebounded by Kadri. And he has it over to Brett Kulak.
However, say about the save of Mackenzie Blackwood, yes, I know it's definitely what everyone's hard at. But when you don't know the good thing about math, that really happens to give one first players with the shot of a goal, and that's really the hard chain to have that one picking up for release. I mean, there is no standpoint, but you really would like to have to try again all over it. But when you're doing it the right way on offense, you must make sure to have that one contacting and wide open with your eyes.
Don't lose your focus. McCarr. Now finding Nichushkin. Nichushkin now has it to Brock Nelson, and that one is stopped up. Nichushkin. Nichushkin to Brock Nelson. He shoots it on the blocker. Saved out by Philip Gustafson. Brett Kulak now finds over McCarr, and he now has it swing it to Kulak. And McCarr fires that one. It goes up and over the net. Off the backboard, rebound by Nichushkin. Low pressure zone. Here's McCarr. Goes off the goalpost. Kulak again to McCarr. Nichushkin, under 5 minutes in the period. He'll now have it to Kulak. Kulak fires it, links it up. Everyone blocks a shot. Polagno with the rebound and in for Minnesota. And as the Wilds will have a big change in. Jonas Verdine now finds it over to McCarron. McCarron shoots, save up by Blackwood. Gabriel Landeskog gets it off to Nichushkin. No offside for Colorado. If Brock Nelson will have that one, swing it to McCarr. He'll find Toes and up again to McCarr. McCarr find Nelson. Outside of Toes. Toes. McCarr. Nelson. Fire. Scores! Brock Nelson. Now 3-0 lead. They are killing it. Wow. You would not believe so. Brock Nelson is getting another big credit for the game. Check out this hustling happened to Brock Nelson. He made this one changing, and then that one slicks it. That one beats by Philip Gustafson. He could not get a better enough scoring chance with 3 games of a goal. That's really what they're expecting for the Avalanche to have that one, pick off timing and try to beat by Minnesota. That's right into the zone. I think this team really had a punch in. They're getting a lot of big bounding to score from here. Now the win here by Eriksson Ek. Here's Baldy. Send off to Eriksson Ek. Back to Johansson shot. Save by Mackenzie Blackwood. And now here's another one for Avalanche. McKinnon now finds over to McCarr. McCarr swings to McKinnon. McKinnon finds Toes. Toes again to McCarr. And open to McKinnon. Another shot of the goal makes it in. That's back-to-back in the second period. Here's another one. After this happened, Artemi Lekkonen does get a turn. Man, this fans has been surprising. And as you can see, Philip Gustafson, he's blinded. Watch what happened with this. The car sends it over to Lekkonen, and watch the shooting percentage of it. That really gives it right in the net. Now he was way too off the mark of it, and now that happened, got McCarr, he got that one taping it in. This second pass happened to be Devin Toes, and when it goes back over to Kel McCarr, then it goes right over to Artemi Lekkonen, and that is a slapper, and get that one with the first part of the goal drive right over the net. You really have to see this one here. Another shot of a goal. Avalanche, you're on fire. I mean, talk about that when you really wanted to get into it. The leadoff is now 4. And here's another change up to Zuccarello. Zuccarello gets that one off. McKinnon. Here's Lekkonen. He's going to have to try to get 5 this time. Now this time gets stopped by Gustafson. And 2:18 remaining in the second period. Well, he couldn't definitely do that better. May just got to find McKinnon. There's Manson outside of it. He now finds over to McKinnon. A send over to Manson. Manson keeps over to Lekkonen. And Lekkonen trying to have that one in the corner. The swing now finds Manson. Burns. He shoots. That goes high over the net, and he will have it covered in with only under 90 seconds in the second period. Just a few more minutes we have is a second intermission underway for you. As the Avalanche try to have that one with a great chance on lead. 4-0 over Minnesota. Kadri wins the draw, he now finds Burns. Burns to Manson. As Kadri has it over across the Burns. Burns now finds Ruau. Ruau to change off to Kadri, he'll have it again to Ruau. Ruau change off to Burns. Change off to Ruau. Kadri fires it, and a blocker off again on the Avalanche's offender. Colton now finds Burns with under a minute remaining in the second. Burns finds Colton. Colton from the corner shot of it. Kadri with the rebound. And he covered it up by Gustafson very quickly.
He's really trying to do all of it for Cale Makar. When every time this happened to make that assist, I know that hard shot is not going to be easy at all. This assist was really one take. Cale Makar has been doing so well. The change off of it, I love his hustling. This standpoint really took another great shot of a net. And now this time, he has 3 assists in a row. Check out what happened to Cale Makar. You really have to see that playing an action drive and then one-time goal. That's right in turn the net. I say Cale Makar, he plays better a long way.
The win by Hartman with only 20 seconds remaining for Minnesota. Kaprizov has that one out. Right toward away. Right toward middle, and Ross Colton will clear the zone. And this will end up the second period here. 4-0 is Colorado. And they are trying to look for a shutout win. But they may happen or it may not happen. Third period is next. Will be returned in Mile High after this. Hey folks, welcome to the second intermission of the NHL on EA Sports. I'm Roy Cruz and I'm Me Phone 11 with Fan, and therefore the change-off has been made. Colorado Avalanche is now given a 4-0 lead over the Minnesota Wilds. They're seemingly like they want to take a shutout win in game number 2, but that may be scoring to beat defectively if that one changes over on Minnesota or on Colorado Avalanche. This is a quick scoring, but they really have to do some trying to do some breakdowns. No one has ever been playing it like this. But as for therefore, they really started to do all as they can. All right, let's talk about this one for the second period statistics. How do you feel about that played out of the way? Well, I've got to tell you, 14/8 face-off wins for Minnesota. This really is a big kill that they really have done it all. 87/83 passing effectiveness. That's pretty great for Colorado. I mean, very decent score. What I mean to know about the passing effectiveness, this really is to try on to give a lot of lack of energy effort, and they really wanted to change it all, but they did. And just 14/08 over 220, that time on attack is really on their zone. They gotta believe this to keep that one from going out. Now here are the action trackers as for 18/14 hits. Minnesota, 32/20 for Colorado Avalanche. That's right in her the zone. Now let's have a look and see what the goals have made. 4 goals have gotten in through as they start up with all 3 guys, but only one takes with only 3 assists in a row, and that's Devin Toews and Cale Makar that they really took things on. I really seen things about Devin Toews. He really took that one with a great assist to have that one keeping it back in the region. Now let's have it over to you, Fan, about the Minnesota Wilds for Colorado Avalanche. They've got a 4-0 lead over Minnesota. You know what's going on with that?
I don't know. I mean, there's a higher team is really like equal to 1. But it's just definitely kind of hard to maintain it. Expectantly, they really wanted to get that another chance on a shot of a goal. This is really what Avalanche has been doing it for. The timing is just quick offense. No strategy does for things that they really wanted to do. Avalanche has been one of the best teams in the making. They really are looking forward to game number 3 in Minnesota, and hopefully against Minnesota, Wilds will be on the lookout of the chain.
All right, let's send it over to you, Before 11, about the Minnesota Wild, since they're starting to get that shot, and tonight it was from the great block shots. Oh, yes. I mean, I know what you're saying about that. The block shot of it is really right on their own. That's what they really have to say. Minnesota Wilds begin getting defended, and as for Colorado Avalanche, they're really trying to smack them down to give that one plenty of playing energy. This play from the crowd really has to be despite that one to get through it. Otherwise, they could be left out in widgets. That's all what they really need to do to keep that one from playing in. All right, let's see what your total statistics are for after the game.
Yeah, I bet 5-2. It's going to be Colorado, and they're definitely going to be moving on to play at Minnesota.
Well, this might be a good standpoint to take the lead. I say Minnesota. We'll have to see if that one keeps, because a lot of the shots of a goal this one is playing out for the playoffs and for the season. They're 4-0. As for Colorado trying to look for some answers on the hit, I think this will have to be Colorado win. All right, we'll see how this one changes as we send you back to Mile High at Ball Arena. See you folks later after the game for the post-game show. Now let's kick into this.
The finish only happens to be one more time, and this will be the last period in game number 2 before they wrap things up, and they're ready to go for the third period. Well, folks, I know you've been watching this one for most of the time, but this time is where we are finishing it off for the third period between Colorado and Minnesota. The big thing happened to be only with this, and what we need to know about the recap of it is always Mackenzie Blackwood. He really makes a nice save of it. The only thing that has to be changing it up now is just blockers on the save. Blockers on the save. There's pretty much that they're really starting to get some craziness sponge in the save. That's 21 of them in a row that you really have to watch on. Mackenzie Blackwood is doing terrific every part of the periods. That's really what they are starting for game 2. I totally agree with you, Gelatin. And I would have mentioned before that the start-off really only happens to be with one. When anybody stands a shock out of it, but anybody who has been playing it to face against the Colorado Avalanche as the Minnesota Wild are trying to get another shot on fair to goal, they really are taking things a long way down. They really are starting to get some a lot of big offenses they really wanted to get another goal for. And what happens with Norton HS? They really are watching this on. You can see Wallstad, he's watching it on for Philip Gustafson. He really has a little bit of like a pretty much a confidently on the scoring and the change off. And afterwards, there won't be anything that's far more better if the Avalanche really wanted to try to save of the day. You know, that's pretty much what they really have to give everyone a fair to if he wants to get another score to get it in. Here's save from McKenna now outside of its zone. He now finds Martin Natchez. And Quentin Hughes will have that one rebounded over. The hustle. A change over to McCarr. That one is sent back over to Brock Nelson. That one gets it down, and it's Brock Nelson. Brock Faber has it over now again. And this one will send in a finger on the net to Kirill Kaprizov. A set up by Josh Manson. He now finds over to Gabriel Landeskog. That one is tipped it over, and it's now Quentin Hughes with the rebound. From the wing. Brock Nelson takes that one out, and it's rebounded up by Nichushkin. And Manson sends it up to Gabriel Landeskog. The Avalanche goes back on offensive zone. He'll now try to change it over to the offensive side of his forward. And now finding to Brock Nelson. It changes to Manson. Manson outside Brock Nelson. Another save by Gustafson, and this one will stop and freeze the play with only 16:22 remaining in third. As you can see, there are plenty of game actions here that's coming up for you as we've got a big ones with the take-in. And as for tomorrow night, the Oilers are now facing against the Golden Knights here in game number 2. That will be tomorrow night. It's only one game here starting at 9 p.m. with one game night. And for the other hand of it, as we've got two with other game for game number 3, the Tampa Bay Lightning are facing against the Buffalo Sabres here at Benchmark International Arena. That part of the next game will happen to be underway starting at 8 p.m. here on Son of Beast for the another Stanley Cup playoffs in Game 3. And following after with that game, we will have another 2 games in action as Minnesota Wilds face against the Colorado Avalanche at Grand Casino Arena in game number 3. And after that, the big night of a game is the Canes and the Penguins starting at 8 p.m. That'll be game 3 on the other hand of it. This is another big matchup that they're really starting up for, and I cannot wait to see who gets it all with the big rundown. That will be the question for the next in Game 3. Here's the other side of it to Jack Drury with under 15 minutes remaining in the third period. Parker Kelly again and Malinsky. Here's O'Connor, the backhander. That one misses wide, and it rebounded up again by Spurgeon. He missed that one everywhere. Hard track of it is not the start off that they wanted to do for it. The key of it is really getting so much energy. They're not really sure how that's going to change it all, but this really took too much attempt to have that one smacking. They really don't have the right choice of it to do for if they really wanted to try to keep it out. That's everyone's favorite, to try to keep passing that puck around to try to get away from the defenders, that's because they really started to do a lot of energy. That brings it all to make anybody that's far more appearing to the outside of the gen. This status, it might be harder than expecting it for.
Trying to slow it down, and it's now a save made by Phil Gustafson, and it's now rebounded by Toes. Lucker now finds McCarr, and now finds it to O'Connor. It's back in McCarr. And rebounded up by McCarron. And here's Marcus Foligno. McCarron, outside of his own, it's like grenade. Toes, Hal has it over to McCarr. A chance made over to Toes, and it's right back again to McCarr. He finds McKinnon. And the swing over to Landeskog. He'll have that one swinging off into Shushkin. Shushkin right around the net. He'll have that swing to McCarr. Toes shoots one. That's blocked up. And a save made here by Philip Gustafson. This goes back to Bernice Berdine. As for the Minnesota Wilds, they'll have a new change-up. And this one flings it up. No icing will be given here for Minnesota. With only 10:30 remaining.
I probably might have to say that this is really a hard one to try to do for. When everybody's been sucking down for some reasons, I don't think that this is not going to definitely happen.
Here to Chishkin now, and he'll send it over to Brock Nelson as he passed the midway mark in the third period. And Chishkin slides that one back, resets it across again to Toes. He'll get it to Chishkin, and Chishkin with the shot, and it's blocked up by Landeskog. 9:30 remaining in the third period. Toes swings to McCarr, and that one poked it up here as McCarron will have it. Wilds back in offensive zone. He'll try to take a shot out of it, and this one is blocked up and rebounded by Nichushkin. Brock Nelson takes a quarter of it. He'll have that one banking around the pass, and Trennan will have it again to Brock Faber.
They're starting to lose a lot of energy at this point, and Avalanche have been. They took in some big lead-off change. There's no way that Gabriel Landeskog is really given so much away for lack of from the crowd of it. And I'm really sure that this is what happens with the Avalanche. They're really starting to get that one, knocking down some of the goals, playing off of some mobilities. This change in the offense is really starting to make that one large, prouder and prouder that they're really doing it for.
Nelson gives them a escape. And that one is back to Jurov. Here's another one to Boldy. Matt Boldy with the fire shot and a save by Mackenzie Blackwood. Kicks that one off. Outside of his own. Faber. Hughes. Blocked by Malinsky. And he will have that one clearing it out. And it'll be an icing on Colorado. Under 7 minutes in the third period. They'll have another puck drop ready to get going for Colorado and Minnesota.
One big change-up I really had to say is Minnesota Wilds. They had a lot of face-off wins in. As Brock Nelson was really clear enough to get that one right in, and spotted that one out was pretty much clearer. It's pretty much a lot of offenses that are really starting to get some knockdowns to the opponent. And I mentioned to say about Colorado Avalanche, they just had all tightening and concerning things, how that one is going to get the lack off of it. When everybody's been cheering it on for the Avalanche, they really wanted to give that one all a better one that they can. The Avalanche has been such a better, harder team that they really did for. I think they're better than over Minnesota. Not my hard bet, might be the conference finals that they're going to. Maybe Avalanche might have it all, what they will change to.
That glove saves it up again by Mackenzie Blackwood and rebound by Landeskog. What a save. He really almost had that one missed an opportunity chance. He cannot hardly wait if they're trying to look at another goal for Minnesota. That's a hard chance that they're doing for. And we're just down to a final 5 minutes presented by Discover and a save by Stella Gustafson. We're under 5 minutes remaining in the third period. Colorado Avalanche trying to swing another goal. 27 over 15 shots on goal for Minnesota. And they're really starting to get another knockdowns here in the game. That is 36 over 29 for Colorado on a shot on goal. And Minnesota is desperately looking for a goal in the third period. Matthew Boldy. Blocker on a shot made. Stop made by Mackenzie Blackwood. As Brett Burns now sends it to Lekkonen. And as Arturi Lekkonen will have that one clearing it out around the net. And now behind the cage is Natchez. Natchez. Gets off to Burns and he'll have it off to Manson. Natchez outside of it and now find McKinnon. McKinnon for the backhander, deflected one too soon. Jake Middleton now finds Joel Eriksson-Ek. Joel Eriksson-Ek now finds to Matthew Baldy. And it's Johansson. That blocked it up again. It's rebounded by Brett Burns. This one will send to Manson. And Manson will give it a clear over again to McKinnon. Final 3 minutes in the third period. And there's Minnesota trying to look for the goal. They are desperately getting denied here. And there's a lot of Avs that are blocking the shot. Burns at the toes. Toes shoots. Stopped by Gustafsson. And will freeze things here with under 3 minutes.
This player of the game really must have had it all changing it in here. You know, the Avalanche just tried to do all their better responses, but I really have to say Nathan McKinnon, he's really like the big tipper, but the one thing happens with, well, I think they believe it that it must happen to be with only Devin Toews. He had 3 assists in the game in this playoff. This controversial is trying to change it quickly, and most likely the offense may have to do all better change than ever. You know, I was really sure that Devin Toews did a wonderful job with that playing that assisted the game, and they really did so well.
Oh my goodness! Looks like the credit is going to be all over the corner, and it's now a 5-0 game. Yeah, it is going to be a big credit. I think that's Logan O'Connor. He got a great goal in that game. Check out the backhander and looking at that opener, and then he's really... You get that rebound in there, and then just passed by Gustafsson. Now he's in frustration. Now watch what happens to Logan O'Connor. He was right in the backhander, and then when it just knocks it over by the goaltender, that one made him crushed. That one really beats it over, and that really gets right away with it.
Yeah, you know that Logan O'Connor would really have that knocking for the feeling of it, and just now 1:45 left in the game. I know it's not the big feeling that everybody is watching for tonight, but when I mentioned to say about Logan O'Connor, he really had that backhander with a scoring chance goal. Now the Avalanche has been like on fire for the first 2 games. But for the next 2 games, we'll have to wait and find out if Minnesota wins in Game 3 before Game number 4.
And it's down to a final minute in the third period. Here's O'Connor. He sends it off. And as we'll have to try to give that a little reset here, Logan O'Connor now finds the Middleton. And outside of it, Tarasenko, he'll have it over right around the net. Breaks it up. Kadri clears it out. And an icing will be on Colorado with only 39 seconds, .2 in the third period.
We have to believe on Michael McCarron. That really almost made that hit. And this one just slacks it out. Basically edging it is just making it harder to make the hit. And it only brings out Michael McCarron, better defender.
Who had the best player game of the night and will now send it over is Terry Crews.
Well, you guys said so. It was Devin Toews who had 3 assists in the game, and he really changed it often. Everybody's been trying to watch it from all blanks to the other. When I mentioned to say about Devin Toews, he's really able to get that tape-to-tape zones. His passing effectiveness turned out so well. Avalanche has been doing so much gladly, and the gratitude brings it all. Avalanche are deserving to get a shutout win in Game 2. But there'll be a lot much game happening here between the Wilds and Avalanche. There's plenty more to come here for the next part of the game in the playoffs. This is a great way that we've seen Devin Toews for the big night. 3 assists, outstanding performance. Back to you guys.
And as for the pass, and they're going to end it off. For the first time ever in Game 2, they shut out the Minnesota Wild in 5-0. Avalanche has won that game, and they are on the road to play for Minnesota. They're 2-0.
This series was really like everybody's favorite. You know, Mackenzie Blackwood, he had one crazy start of the game. I believe so, but everyone is going to give the credit to him. How about we salute the fans, especially to Bernie. We really had made that history going downwards and upwards. Well, now 2-0 is the better place to be.
Well, as for along with broadcasting partners here, what a nice game this is. And as for 5-0, after Sabres and now Avalanche, they beat Minnesota 5-0, your final score. Along with my broadcast partners, along with Silver Spoon and Gelatin and Terry Crews, I'm Craig. Thanks for joining us for the Stanley Cup playoffs, and we'll see you next time. Good night. All right, thank you so much there, Craig. And what a nice play in the performance. Avalanche has taken a shutout win here in game number 2, and 5-0 is your final score. Let's have a look at the full statistics for the third star player of the game, Cale Makar. He finishes off with 4 assists in the game and has 1 hit to take over. This deep pass only does so to keep that one from clearing it out and scoring it as they had a chance. Devin Toews only's got this 4 assists in the game, and he has 3 hits on the upper hand of it. He really did so well, and playing it for confidently on a better skill energy. And tonight's first star player of the game for the Avalanche, they give a big credit to Mackenzie Blackwood with 32 saves in the game. Shutout win in game 2. That series is now 2-0 over Minnesota.
And tonight, your total statistics are in 39 over 32 shots on goal for Colorado over Minnesota, 39 over 17 for Minnesota over Colorado, 1802 over 341 time on attack for Colorado. Then it was 84.9 over 84.1 passing effectiveness for Colorado, and 22 over 9 face-off wins for Minnesota as they dug it all.
Seemingly that everybody's been watching this on, so they've got one more win to do for Avalanche, and there might be game 4 if necessary between one of each games. One of each. The Carolina Hurricanes against the Penguins, the Avalanche against Minnesota, and there's only one more game to go here tomorrow night. The Oilers are facing against the Golden Knights back at T-Mobile Arena for one last game. Hopefully, that might be more than any energy.
Well, thanks for joining us here, and I hope you all have a wonderful night, and we'll see you folks next time for a while as the Stanley Cup playoffs on EA Sports Dial.
This is Roy Cruz, along with MePhone11 and Fan, and we hope you appreciate with you all, and will join us back again soon. Thank you, and good night. Thanks for watching, everyone.
If you don't, somebody will.